Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. I'm really excited for this one because we're going to be doing an updated childcare costs video. Big topic. My name's Shannon and I'm a mum of two to a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old. My 3-year-old is in childcare and has been in childcare since he was 11 months old. I went back to work when he was 11 months old, so he had to go into childcare. He's been with a childminder, he's been at nurseries, several different nurseries because we've moved around a lot, having been a military family in the past. So I feel like I've got a little bit of experience now. I actually filmed a video back in 2021 about childcare costs when I was planning my childcare costs. But I hadn't actually used the childcare system at this point, and I definitely have learnt a lot. It's a lot trickier than you might think to navigate. Like, I work for the government, I'm a civil servant, and I find the childcare system and the schemes quite difficult to understand. So if I'm finding it hard, I'm pretty sure we're all finding it difficult. So I thought it'd be a really cool idea for me to just go through all the childcare schemes and my understanding of them. Obviously I understand some more than others because I've used them myself, and some I haven't used, but there's a really great website called Childcare Choices, and if you haven't visited it and you're looking into childcare for whatever reason, then I would highly recommend it because it's actually just like really simply put, and a lot of things that the government puts out maybe isn't. So yeah, definitely check out childcarechoices.gov.uk if you can. But this video hopefully will be like a visual version for you. So buckle in, grab a cuppa, get a notepad and pen because God, you're gonna need it. I've got mine. So let's go for it. So I wanted to start off talking about the 15 and 30 hours free childcare schemes. So the 15 hours and the 30 hours free childcare scheme has been around for a little while, but usually it's been eligible for different versions of the scheme are eligible for different people. So for example, if you receive some sort of government support or if you are on universal credit, you could be eligible for 15 hours free childcare from the age of 2 or the term after your child turns 2. That could be something that you'd be eligible for. And then if you are a working family on universal credit, so you and your partner both work, you could actually get up to 85% of your childcare costs paid for by the universal credit system. I don't know loads about this, but I'm pretty sure if you have one child, you could get up to £950 per month. And then if you have 2 children or more, then you could get up to £1,630. Obviously, that's only going to be up to 85% of your childcare bill, whatever that is. And there is a really good benefits calculator on the Childcare Choices website if you wanted to use that. If you're not in receipt of any of those benefits, then you could be eligible for 15 hours free from the term after your child turns 3. So for example, my son turned 3 in September, so from January he would have been eligible for at least 15 hours free. 30 hours free childcare, if you're a working parent in England, you could be eligible for 30 hours free for your 3 to 4-year-old at the moment. That's who it's currently available for. If you also work, you're a working family, both your partner, like you and your partner, if you have one, works and earn under £100,000 each, technically you and your partner could both earn £99,000 a year and still be eligible for this childcare scheme. However, if one of you earns over £100,000 and the other one earns literally like £12,000, you'd have a joint income of significantly less than the other family, but you wouldn't be eligible for it. It's a bit skewed, but that's just how it works. I think they have issues with working out the tax elements of all of it. It could actually end up looking more like 22 hours free per week. That's what it looks like for me because I've stretched it across a whole year rather than just term time only. That means even in August, even over Easter, nursery's still open. I don't have to worry about it being term time only. If you work a job where you can't get that many weeks off annual leave, then I would recommend stretching the offer, but it does mean that your 30 hours free reduces to 22 hours free. And it doesn't always cover the consumables and, you know, the lunchtime sessions and however your nursery works it out. For us, how it's worked out is each day that would normally have costed £48 a session now costs £17 a session. And the reason that our nursery does it that way is because they charge for food that isn't covered by the 22 hours free, and then also the lunchtime session, so like the hour session where they actually eat lunch isn't covered by the scheme. So the only way around that technically would be if I dropped my son off at nursery. He was there for the morning. I picked him up before lunchtime, had lunch at home, dropped him back at nursery, and then he was there until 4 o'clock. That way, I would technically be able to get that session free. But I'm willing to pay the £17 for him to have a great lunch, for him to be there all day, for me not to have to go and pick him up and drop him off and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, £17 a day, it's better than 50, or 48 like it was. So that's how my nursery works it. It could be different for your nursery, it could be different for your childminder, but the 22 hours free, it doesn't work out completely free, but it's a massive, massive contributing factor to our childcare bill being reduced from £1,200 that it used to be all the way down to £360. That's for 3 to 4 year olds at the moment. And in April 2024, 15 hours free is going to be extended to working parents of 2 year olds. And then in September 2024, 15 hours can be extended to working parents of 9-month-olds and plus. And then in 2025, in September, 30 hours free should be available to working parents of any baby over the age of 9 months, 9 months onwards. So the scheme that I'm currently using for my 3-year-old, essentially in a year and a half's time, in September 2025, should be available for anyone with a 9-month-old baby plus. Applications for the April 2024 15 hours free for 2-year-olds is actually open now. So have a little look on Childcare Choices. There's a really easy little link just to go on and have a little look to see if you're eligible, to see if you can apply for it, etc, etc. The government website isn't the easiest to navigate, but you'll get there. If you already have a tax-free childcare account, which is something we're going to talk about in a minute, then you could actually already have a little message in your inbox with a little code. The code is what you provide to your nursery or your childcare setting, and then they will work out how they get their funding from that code. They get their funding from the government, and then they will reduce your bill when it comes into play in April. Obviously, I don't know about your individual nursery. I don't know how it's going to work in terms of the funding they get from the government. That's all something that they're going to have to talk to their local authority about, whatever, but all you have to do is provide them with the code that should be available to you in your tax-free childcare account. If you don't have the tax-free childcare account yet, firstly, if you're a working parent, you should, but secondly, you can do that through the Childcare Choices website that I just mentioned. Now, there really hasn't been too much detail announced about this, and I don't think nurseries, childcare providers of any kind really know how the funding is going to work, and therefore it might be quite difficult for them to give you proper answers at this stage. And like I say, it's not actually 15 hours free. The way it works is most nurseries, mine included, would stretch that offer, and it wouldn't necessarily cover a lunchtime session or the consumables or nappies or wipes and sun cream and all that kind of stuff, but it's some support that we didn't have before. My 6-month-old, who isn't in childcare yet, when I do go back to work, will be in childcare, and she's actually going to technically benefit, or I'm going to benefit, from the September 2024 when she's eligible for the 15 hours free. That's going to significantly reduce our childcare bill from what I paid with my son. And to be honest, that's a massive reason that I'm not as worried about going back to work, is because I know my childcare bill is going to be lower. Moving on to tax-free childcare. The name is so deceiving. It's nothing to do with tax. It literally just means that for every £8 you contribute towards your bill, the government tops it up by £2. So, in effect, the government pays about 25% of your childcare bill. If you do it correctly and you figure it all out, there are some catches, I'm not going to lie to you, and you have to work the system pretty well, and you have to be on top of it all. But if you do, you can get 25% off of your childcare bill, up to a limit, obviously. So who's eligible? It's the same as the 30 hours free childcare scheme, in that if you are a working parent, and your partner works if you have a partner, and you both earn over the national minimum wage and work about 16 hours per week, but under £100,000 each per year, then you should be eligible for this scheme. Obviously, you have to have a child that's below the age of 11 or 16 if they have a disability, and you can't be in receipt of any tax credits, universal credit, or any other government benefits other than child benefit itself, which you are absolutely able to claim, as well as receive tax-free childcare. It might also surprise you to know that you can use it for not only nurseries, not only childminders and nannies, but also before and after school clubs, holiday clubs, things like that. So definitely look into, if you come into that threshold of both earning under £100,000, you should be using this for your after school clubs, you should be using this for breakfast clubs, things like that, because it will cut down your bill significantly. Okay, my daughter's just woken up from her nap, but she's down here playing, so if you hear any little baby noises, that's who that is. But I wanted to now talk about what the limits of the tax-free childcare system is, and there are a few. So firstly, they will not contribute more than £500 towards your bill every 3 months. And every 3 months is called a period. And on your tax-free childcare account, it will tell you you have X amount of pounds left from the government top-up per like this period. But the account doesn't tell you when your period starts and ends. So you have to remember when you signed up for the tax-free childcare account, because that's when your period starts. I think essentially what I figured out is if your bill, your whole total childcare bill is going to exceed £600 a month, which many do, especially if you're a full-time working parent, like it's gonna exceed that, then the government top-up won't see you through the whole 3 months. So that's when you're gonna have to do the more complicated calculation. Another limit, a very important one, is you must reconfirm your eligibility every 3 months. The system does alert you to it, but if you don't see the email or if you don't see the message in your inbox on the childcare account, then, you know, I've been stuck in a situation where I forgot to renew my eligibility and then we didn't get the funding. And so we had to pay our full childcare bill, which we hadn't accounted for in our budgeting. And it was a really difficult couple of months where we didn't get any support from the government. And that's what we had been banking on. So prompt yourself, even if you don't see the emails from the childcare account system that pings you, set a reminder on your calendars for the love of God, because that was difficult. The next part I guess I really wanted to talk about is how it actually works, because it's all great saying that you get money from here, you get money from that, and that's how, but how does it actually work in practice? Firstly, you need to sign up for a tax-free childcare account. You confirm your eligibility, type in all your details, say that you're either working, your partner earns this much, your job is this, X, Y, Z. It comes out saying whether you're eligible or not. I think it takes a day or so. They email you through and say, yes, you're eligible, congratulations, let's make your account. Once you make your tax-free childcare account, you have a little portal on there whereby you input all your details, like say for example my son's details are on there, and then I transfer money to the childcare account. I don't transfer money directly to the nursery. That goes straight to the nursery and then they can't get the funding that they need top up from the government. What you need to do is you need to transfer your money into the childcare account. I do this via a standing order from my joint bank account I've got with my husband. Every single month we know that we put the money into our joint account. The joint account pings it across via like a bank transfer basically into the childcare account. And then from the childcare account, say our bill was £1,000, we would contribute £800, and then the government would put in the £200 to the tax-free childcare account. And then from that, once the government top-up's been added to it, you can create a little transfer to your nursery or your childminder or your childcare provider, and then that amount can be sent from the childcare account to the nursery. So essentially, instead of transferring money to your nursery directly, you have to put it into a pot of money into the childcare account system, and then the government top-up comes there, and then it gets sent to your childcare provider. You can set it up so that it does it directly. However, I've run into issues with that in the past where if, you know, on the first of the month it's a Sunday, then the money doesn't go in, and then you haven't got the money then, and the money doesn't go through to the nursery, and blah blah. So I actually do it manually every month, just because I figured out that that's worked best for us. I get an invoice every month from nursery. As soon as I get the invoice, I go, oh yes, of course, I'll go into my childcare account. The money's been put in there a day or so ago from me. The top-up has arrived that day, and then the following day I pay my nursery bill. Like I said, I've run into issues in the past where there wasn't enough money in the account, so the nursery didn't get paid on time, blah, blah, blah. I do think, however, nurseries and childcare providers are used to it because the system, like anyone that uses the tax-free childcare system, probably has similar issues. So that's how like the tax-free childcare account works, and the actual fundamental like practicalities of it all works. It's a little more convoluted than I thought it would be, but that's how it works. And if you ever had any issues, I've had many, then the tax-free childcare like hotline number is actually really good. You have to be on hold for a little while, but as soon as you get through to someone and explain what your issue might be, they are so great at explaining how to navigate it. But I wanted to run through a real life example. Say for example, your bill exceeds the amount where the government's not going to be able to top you up by 25% because it's exceeded the £500 limit. What would you do? How would you work that out? So firstly, let's just do like a very straightforward calculation. Okay, so for example, say your bill is going to be £50 a day. That's how much a session costs all in all for your little one to go to nursery. So £50 a day is the daily cost. And say your child goes to nursery 4 days a week. Times that by 4, and then you'll see that that's the weekly cost, £200. If you times £200 by 4.33, it should give you your monthly cost. That's how my nursery does it. I know some nurseries do it exactly based on the days, but if you do it by 4.33, that's how much it should be every single month. So 4.33 equals £866. That's how much your childcare bill would be per month. And so if you wanted to work out how much the government was going to top you up, it's important to work out how much the government's going to top you up, because if it exceeds £166, that would mean you would exceed the £500 per 3 months. And that's important to know because you would then be liable to pay that extra. So we want to work out how much the government's going to contribute. So if we times our monthly amount, 866, by 0.25, meaning 25%, we'll see that it's £216.50. So that's how much the government's going to top us up. But obviously, if we times £216.50 by 3, which is how long a period is on your tax-free childcare account, that exceeds £500. So we've already worked out that our government top-up isn't going to last us 3 months. So what we need to now do is work out what 3 months of our total childcare bill will be, and then deduct it by £500, because that's how much the government is going to be able to contribute. So if we start off at our monthly bill, which was £866, if you remember, we times that by 3, equaling £2,598, and then deduct 500, because that's how much the government will top us up if we put in the money to our childcare account, equaling £2,098. Then all we need to do is divide that by 3, and that will equal the amount of money that we need to contribute towards our childcare bill every single month, even though that's more than 75% of the bill. But because the government's only going to top you up by £500, you need to make that up extra. And I personally would much rather pay a little bit extra per month than pay not much, and then loads in 1 month, because that would just screw my budget massively. And trust me, I've been there. So £699.33 is what you would pay of a £866 childcare bill. However, if your bill is under £600, then the government top-up will see you through for the 3-month period every single time. So for example, say your bill was £600 a month and you contributed £480 of that from your own pocket, the government would top you up £120 every single month, and you wouldn't exceed the £500 limit because that would only equal £360, then you'd be totally fine. Every single month you'd contribute the exact same amount, and then the government would top you up, and then you'd never exceed your limit. So I hope that makes sense. And then finally, I just wanted to talk about how you would combine the free hours scheme with the tax-free childcare scheme, because you can use both in conjunction, which is what we're doing. So with the free hours, you basically just get your code that's delivered to your inbox on your tax-free childcare account, and then you provide that to your nursery, and then they figure out what your bill is going to be. You don't really have a say in how they allocate those funds. So in my case, those £48 a day sessions have now been reduced to £17 a day. That covers consumables, it covers lunch, plus the lunchtime session that isn't covered by the funding. So we've actually topped up his hours so that he does 3 days that cost £17, and then one of the days it actually costs £27, because it doesn't cover, the 22 hours doesn't cover all of those days, if that makes sense. Then after receiving our new adjusted childcare bill, Again, the same system applies, whereby we'd put the money into the childcare account and then the tax-free childcare top-up comes in, then we pay the nursery. So we just end up paying them less, but via the same route. That's how the 30 hours free and the tax-free childcare is combined. So you don't really have to do anything for the 30 hours free or the 15 hours free if that's what you're doing. The nursery kind of do all of that work for you, but if it's the tax-free childcare, then you still have to put the money into the account and then pay that bill, but the bill will be significantly less if you're getting the free hours. I hope that all makes sense. If I'm totally honest, these calculations, doing all of this when I was on my first maternity leave, helped me understand how many days a week I could go back to work for, how many days a week childcare I could afford, and it made a massive impact, and having worked it out first was the best thing that I could have done. Like I said, I've made mistakes. There are times where I didn't reconfirm my eligibility and it absolutely screwed us. So I'm really hoping that this video has helped someone to not make that mistake, because it was really, really hard financially for a little while because of that mistake. But to be honest, if they'd have made it slightly clearer, if I understood the repercussions of that a little bit more, if they'd have written it in plain English, or if I'd have called that really helpful helpline earlier, maybe I wouldn't have made that mistake. And hopefully this video can do that for someone. So I hope you really enjoyed this video, guys. I really enjoyed filming it, and if there's anything that you want me to talk about, finances, childcare costs, money related stuff, like just real normal from a normal mum to a mum, then let me know in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. I had loads of really positive feedback on my budget video that I did for the new year, and I want to carry on doing these budgeting videos throughout 2024 because I really love doing them, and if it means that I help literally one person understand this really niche thing in terms of budgeting or childcare costs, or a little hack here and there about how to calculate, make sure that you're making up the right money for your childcare account, all that kind of stuff, then these videos are so worth it because it's so hard, it's so difficult, and it doesn't need to be. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much. See you in the next one. Bye.
'Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby.